Deep space holds secrets humanity wasn't meant to uncover. A rescue mission becomes a descent into madness when they discover the horrifying truth about the lost expedition. What they found wasn't just terrifying, it was beyond comprehension. As reality unravels piece by piece, the rescuers realize they might not survive to tell the tale. The truth about humanity's greatest mystery awaits, but at what cost? Subscribe now to uncover the chilling fate of the vanished crew. The communication blackout began exactly 72 hours after their arrival on Kepler for 42b. The research vessel Prometheus had been humanity's greatest hope for finding habitable worlds beyond Earth. 12 brilliant minds representing the pinnacle of human achievement disappeared without explanation. Months later, the recovery team aboard the rescue ship Endeavour approached the same coordinates where contact had been lost. Their instruments already registered anomalies, magnetic field fluctuations that shouldn't exist, and radiation patterns defying known physics. The planet's atmosphere appeared stable enough for surface exploration, yet something about its perfect conditions felt disturbingly artificial. As the rescue team prepared for descent, historical records of similar disappearances across centuries weighed heavily on their minds. Ships vanishing without a trace, colonies going silent overnight, each incident shared eerie similarities. Yet none compared to the scale of this disaster. The Prometheus hadn't just gone dark, it had erased itself from existence, leaving behind only whispers of data too fragmented to decode. The crew aboard the Endeavour knew they were stepping into the unknown, but none could have anticipated the horrors awaiting them. Some whispered about ancient myths, others speculated about alien interference, but all agreed, whatever happened here would change everything they thought they knew about life, death, and survival. The descent through the planet's atmosphere began smoothly, but unease spread among the team as their sensors detected inexplicable phenomena. Temperature readings fluctuated wildly despite the calm exterior, and gravitational forces seemed to shift unpredictably. The planet below was a mosaic of beauty and danger, promising answers but demanding caution. Every heartbeat aboard the Endeavour echoed with the weight of the mission's purpose. Would they find survivors, or would they uncover only the remnants of tragedy? The descent through Kepler for 42b's atmosphere revealed landscapes both beautiful and unnerving. Towering crystalline structures reflected light in impossible ways while vast plains of iridescent vegetation stretched beyond visual range. The Prometheus lay partially buried in alien soil, its once pristine hull battered by unknown forces. External scans showed life support systems still operational despite months of abandonment. This single detail sent shivers through the rescue team. Why would a doomed expedition maintain environmental controls during their final moments? Initial approach revealed no visible damage to the craft's exterior, though strange markings resembling deliberate scorch patterns decorated sections of the hull. These weren't random energy discharges, but precise geometric shapes reminiscent of ancient Earth symbols. The markings pulsed faintly under certain wavelengths of light, almost as if alive. Each step closer to the ship heightened the sense of dread. The rescue team exchanged silent glances, their training clashing with instinctual fear. Something about this place felt wrong, not merely dangerous, but fundamentally alien. The vegetation surrounding the crash site added to the unease. Bioluminescent plants cast an ethereal glow, illuminating the area with hues never seen on Earth. Yet these colors shifted unpredictably, sometimes aligning with the team's movements, as though responding to their presence. Strange, insect-like creatures darted between the glowing flora, their bodies translucent and seemingly made of liquid light. Despite their fragile appearance, they moved with purpose, avoiding direct contact but observing intently. It was as if the planet itself was watching, waiting. First contact with the interior proved more disturbing than expected. Environmental seals responded perfectly, suggesting recent maintenance rather than years of neglect. Air composition matched Earth standards almost too precisely, as if artificially maintained against natural entropy. Personal belongings remained neatly arranged in crew quarters, contradicting expectations of a panicked evacuation or violent confrontation. Medical facilities contained unopened supplies, while engineering stations displayed active diagnostic programs frozen mid-operation. The absence of decay struck the rescue team hardest. Food rations sat untouched, tools hung neatly on magnetic strips, and personal logs remained queued for playback. Everything suggested routine operations continuing until the very end. Yet there were no bodies, no signs of struggle, only silence. The crew of the Prometheus had vanished without a trace, leaving behind a ghost ship frozen in time. One chamber stood apart from the rest, the central observation deck. Its walls were covered in intricate carvings, etched directly into the metal. Unlike the geometric patterns outside, these designs resembled organic forms, twisting tendrils, fractal spirals, and shapes that defied description. They seemed to pulse faintly, synchronized with the ship's ambient hum. Attempts to record the patterns digitally failed. Cameras captured only static, while audio equipment picked up low-frequency vibrations that induced headaches. Whatever these markings represented, they resisted human understanding. In the medical bay, one of the team members discovered a series of handwritten notes scrawled hastily across the walls. The handwriting was erratic, switching between neat, deliberate strokes and jagged, frantic scribbles. Some phrases were repeated over and over. Dash, they're watching, it's inside us, and dash, don't let it speak. These messages weren't just warnings. They felt like pleas for help from someone who had already succumbed to madness. The most chilling detail was the dates scrawled alongside the notes. They spanned weeks after the last recorded transmission, suggesting that at least some members of the Prometheus crew had survived long after communication ceased. But what had they endured during those final days? The team found no bodies, no remains, only these cryptic messages etched into the ship's very structure. It was as if the crew had been consumed not by violence, but by something far more insidious. As the rescue team pressed deeper into the ship, their instruments began to malfunction with increasing frequency. Compasses spun wildly, temperature gauges displayed impossible readings, and even their wrist-mounted chronometers flickered unpredictably. Time itself seemed to warp within the confines of the Prometheus, stretching seconds into minutes and collapsing hours into moments. The sensation of being watched grew oppressive, an invisible weight pressing down on every thought and movement. One team member paused in front of a sealed hatch marked "Restricted Access." Despite multiple attempts, the door refused to open via standard protocols. Yet when another member placed their hand against the panel, the mechanism hissed to life, revealing a narrow corridor bathed in pulsating red light. The air inside smelled faintly metallic, and the walls were lined with more of the strange carvings seen earlier. These patterns now appeared to shift slightly when observed out of the corner of one's eye, a subtle, maddening motion that defied logic. The restricted corridor led to a chamber unlike any other aboard the Prometheus. Its walls were covered floor to ceiling in glowing glyphs, each one shifting and rearranging itself in real time. At the center of the room stood a pedestal upon which rested a crystalline object roughly the size of a human head. The crystal emitted a low hum that resonated through the bones of anyone who approached, and its surface seemed to ripple like liquid despite its solid appearance. Initial scans revealed nothing about the object's composition or origin. It didn't register as matter in any conventional sense. Touching it caused immediate disorientation. One team member reported vivid hallucinations of shadowy figures whispering in languages they couldn't understand. Another claimed to see glimpses of Earth, but twisted and distorted beyond recognition. Whatever this artifact was, it clearly possessed properties far beyond human comprehension. Notes scattered around the chamber hinted at experiments conducted by the Prometheus crew. Fragments of scientific jargon described attempts to communicate with the crystal using electromagnetic pulses, harmonic frequencies, and even quantum entanglement. The tone of these writings shifted dramatically over time, from cautious optimism to desperate urgency to outright despair. One researcher wrote, "We've made contact. It knows we're here. We should never have come." Another added, "It doesn't want to hurt us. It wants to change us." The implications sent shivers through the rescue team. Had the Prometheus crew inadvertently unleashed something ancient and incomprehensible? Or had they simply stumbled upon a force too vast for mortal minds to grasp? Either way, the truth lay buried somewhere within this eerie chamber, and retrieving it might cost them everything. Further exploration revealed additional chambers branching off from the central hub, each containing evidence of increasingly bizarre experiments. In one room, dozens of containment units housed samples of alien flora and fauna, but none of these specimens were intact. Their cells had been altered at a molecular level, transforming them into unrecognizable forms. Some creatures appeared partially transparent, while others exuded faint radiation detectable only through specialized equipment. Another chamber contained rows of cryogenic pods, all empty save for one. Inside lay the preserved body of a Prometheus crew member, her face frozen in an expression of sheer terror. Preliminary scans indicated she had died not from physical trauma but from massive neurological damage. Her brain had essentially overloaded, unable to process whatever stimuli she'd encountered. A nearby terminal displayed fragmented logs detailing her final moments. She had volunteered to interface directly with the crystal, believing it could provide answers. Instead, it drove her mind past the brink of sanity. The rescue team debated whether to destroy the crystal or attempt further study. Some argued that leaving it intact posed an existential threat to humanity, while others believed destroying it might trigger catastrophic consequences. Tensions ran high as paranoia set in. Each member began questioning whether the others were still entirely human. Small details fueled their fears, a teammate's voice sounding slightly off, a reflection moving differently than expected, or an inexplicable delay in response times. The longer they remained aboard the Prometheus, the harder it became to trust even themselves. Meanwhile, the ship itself seemed to grow increasingly hostile. Lights dimmed without warning, corridors rearranged themselves, and gravity fluctuated erratically. It was as though the vessel had become a living entity, actively working to drive intruders insane, or perhaps protect its secrets. By now, the rescue team had uncovered enough evidence to piece together a partial timeline of events. The Prometheus crew had initially landed on Kepler for 42b, intending to establish a research outpost. Early reports described the planet as remarkably Earth-like, with breathable air, abundant resources, and minimal environmental hazards. However, within days of arrival, anomalies began surfacing. Equipment malfunctioned, communications suffered interference, and several crew members reported vivid dreams involving the same recurring symbol, a spiral enclosed within a triangle. At first, these incidents were dismissed as stress-related phenomena or minor technical glitches. But as the occurrences escalated, the crew turned their attention to the crystalline artifact. Initial tests suggested it was emitting low-frequency waves capable of influencing neural activity. Hoping to harness this effect for advanced communication technologies, the crew initiated controlled exposure trials. What followed was a cascade of horrors. Subjects experienced severe psychological breakdowns, reporting visions of alternate realities and encounters with entities claiming to be gods. One log entry read, "Whatever is speaking through the crystal, it sees us as children, and it wants to teach us." Desperation drove the crew to escalate their experiments, exposing themselves to higher doses of the artifact's emissions. Those who survived the initial exposure underwent profound transformations. Their thoughts became fragmented, their perceptions warped, and their memories blurred with fabricated experiences. Some claimed to hear voices guiding them toward enlightenment. Others begged to be euthanized before losing themselves completely. Eventually, the line between human and alien dissolved entirely, leaving behind only echoes of what once was. The rescue team realized too late that they were walking the same path. Each step deeper into the ship brought new revelations and new risks. Every choice they made carried the potential to seal their fate alongside the vanished crew. As the rescue team delved further into the Prometheus, they began to notice subtle changes in their own behavior. Conversations became strained, with team members avoiding eye contact or speaking in clipped, disjointed sentences. Some reported fleeting moments of déjà vu, while others claimed to hear whispers when no one was nearby. The artifact's influence was spreading, not through direct contact, but through proximity alone. One member discovered a hidden compartment in the engineering bay, containing personal journals and audio recordings left behind by the Prometheus crew. These recordings painted a harrowing picture of the final days aboard the ship. Crew members spoke of vivid hallucinations, sleepless nights, and an overwhelming sense of dread that permeated every corner of the vessel. One recording, barely audible over static, captured a chilling exchange. "It's not just inside us anymore. It's in the ship. It's in everything." The team also uncovered evidence of internal conflict among the Prometheus crew. Log entries revealed heated debates over whether to destroy the artifact or continue studying it. Those advocating for destruction were labeled as cowards, while those pushing for further research were accused of recklessness. Eventually, the disagreements escalated into outright hostility, culminating in what appeared to be acts of sabotage. Several critical systems had been intentionally disabled, plunging sections of the ship into darkness and chaos. Despite the mounting danger, the rescue team pressed on, driven by a mix of duty and morbid curiosity. They couldn't leave without answers, but each step forward felt like stepping deeper into a trap. The ship seemed to anticipate their movements, rearranging pathways and sealing off exits to herd them closer to the artifact. It wasn't just guiding them, it was controlling them. The artifact's chamber grew more unstable with each passing hour. The glowing glyphs on the walls now pulsed erratically, casting shifting shadows that danced across the room like living things. The hum emanating from the crystal intensified, vibrating through the air and rattling loose objects. One team member collapsed after lingering too close, convulsing violently before falling unconscious. When they revived hours later, they could only mutter a single phrase over and over: "We are not alone." Attempts to extract data from nearby terminals yielded fragmented files detailing the artifact's origins, or at least theories about them. According to these documents, the object predated human civilization by millions of years, possibly serving as a beacon or communication device created by an ancient alien race. However, the files also suggested that the artifact was incomplete, missing key components necessary for its full activation. The Prometheus crew had speculated that these components might exist elsewhere on Kepler 442b, buried beneath the planet's surface. This revelation sparked a heated debate within the rescue team. Should they risk venturing outside the ship to search for the missing pieces? Doing so might unlock the artifact's secrets or unleash something far worse. Yet staying put offered little hope of survival. Supplies were dwindling, and the psychological toll was becoming unbearable. Every decision felt like a gamble with unimaginable stakes. In the end, the team decided to split up. Half would remain aboard the Prometheus to monitor the artifact, while the others would explore the surrounding terrain. It was a risky move, but unity had already fractured under the weight of paranoia and fear. Trust was a luxury none could afford anymore. Outside the ship, the landscape proved even more treacherous than anticipated. Bioluminescent plants emitted faint, disorienting glows that made navigation nearly impossible. Strange creatures flitted between the foliage, their translucent bodies shimmering like liquid light. Some followed the explorers closely, their movements eerily synchronized with the group's pace. Others darted away abruptly, leaving trails of iridescent dust in their wake. The ground itself seemed alive, shifting subtly beneath their boots. At times, the soil rippled as though disturbed by unseen forces. In other places, it hardened into glass-like formations, reflecting distorted images of the team members back at them. One explorer swore they saw their reflection blink independently, its expression twisted into a sinister grin. After hours of searching, the team stumbled upon a series of monolithic structures partially buried in the alien vegetation. These towers bore markings identical to those found on the artifact, suggesting a connection between the two. Closer inspection revealed intricate carvings depicting what appeared to be rituals involving the crystal. Figures resembling humans knelt before the artifact, their forms dissolving into streams of light as they touched it. Inside one of the towers, the team discovered a cache of metallic orbs similar to the artifact but smaller in size. Each orb emitted a faint glow, and touching them triggered brief flashes of alien landscapes, worlds unlike anything ever seen. One vision showed a sprawling city suspended in midair, its architecture defying gravity and logic. Another depicted a vast ocean filled with floating islands, each connected by bridges of pure energy. These glimpses were mesmerizing yet unsettling, hinting at civilizations far beyond human comprehension. Back aboard the Prometheus, those who stayed behind faced their own horrors. The artifact's chamber had transformed overnight, its walls now covered in pulsating tendrils of light. The crystal itself had grown larger, its surface swirling with colors that seemed to shift based on the observer's emotions. One team member reported hearing voices emanating from the crystal, speaking in languages both familiar and foreign. Another claimed to see faces forming within the swirls, faces of people they knew, some alive, others long dead. Paranoia reached a breaking point when one member accused another of tampering with the artifact. A heated argument erupted, escalating into physical violence. Tempers flared as accusations flew, each word laced with venom and distrust. By the time order was restored, several vital instruments had been damaged, and the group realized they were running out of options. Meanwhile, strange phenomena plagued the ship. Doors opened and closed on their own, lights flickered in patterns resembling Morse code, and disembodied footsteps echoed through empty corridors. The crew began carrying weapons, not for protection against external threats, but against each other. Fear had turned inward, poisoning their minds and eroding whatever remained of their camaraderie. Desperation led them to attempt a risky experiment, using the ship's power core to amplify the artifact's emissions. If they could isolate its signal, perhaps they could decipher its purpose, or at least locate the missing components. But activating the core required overriding multiple safety protocols, a process fraught with uncertainty. The experiment went catastrophically wrong. As soon as the power core connected to the artifact, a surge of energy coursed through the ship, knocking out all systems and plunging the interior into darkness. Emergency lights flickered weakly, casting long, distorted shadows across the walls. The artifact's glow intensified, bathing the chamber in an otherworldly radiance. One by one, the team members began experiencing vivid hallucinations. For some, it was memories brought to life, scenes from childhood replayed in perfect detail. For others, it was nightmarish visions of death and destruction. One member claimed to see the entire history of the universe unfold before their eyes, from the Big Bang to the heat death of existence. Another described witnessing the birth of stars and the collapse of galaxies, all compressed into a single, overwhelming moment. When the hallucinations subsided, reality itself seemed altered. Objects appeared slightly skewed, sounds carried unnatural echoes, and time flowed inconsistently. Minutes stretched into hours, only to snap back to normal without warning. The artifact had fundamentally changed something about the fabric of space-time aboard the Prometheus, warping perception and reason alike. Communication with the exploration team outside broke down entirely. Their last transmission consisted of garbled static interspersed with fragments of speech. It's here. Everywhere. Help us. Then silence. Whatever fate awaited the explorers, it mirrored the tragedy of the Prometheus crew. With no way to contact the others and dwindling resources, the remaining team members resolved to abandon the ship. But escaping the artifact's influence proved impossible. Its presence lingered in their thoughts, manifesting as intrusive whispers and vivid dreams. Even aboard the Endeavor, they couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Upon returning to their vessel, they discovered unsettling changes. Instruments displayed erratic readings, navigation systems failed repeatedly, and the airlock refused to seal properly. It was as if the artifact's corruption had spread, infecting everything it touched. Worse still, one member began exhibiting signs of transformation. Their skin took on a faint luminescence, and their eyes glowed with an unnatural light. They claimed to feel connected to something greater, speaking cryptically of unity and transcendence. The rest of the team debated whether to restrain or exile the affected member, but hesitation cost them dearly. During a routine check of the cargo bay, they found evidence of tampering. Sealed crates pried open, tools scattered haphazardly, and strange symbols carved into the walls. The transformed member denied involvement, but their increasingly erratic behavior suggested otherwise. Tensions boiled over once again, leading to another violent confrontation. This time, there were casualties. Blood stained the floors of the Endeavor, a grim reminder of how far they'd fallen. Survival instincts had overridden morality, reducing them to little more than animals trapped in a cage of their own making. Realizing they couldn't return to Earth in their current state, the surviving members devised a desperate plan. Using the Endeavor's remaining fuel, they intended to crash land near the monolithic structures, hoping to find answers, or at least closure. As they descended toward the planet's surface, the artifact's influence grew stronger, distorting their perceptions and clouding their judgment. Impact was brutal. The Endeavor skidded across the alien terrain, plowing through bioluminescent vegetation before coming to rest against one of the towers. Miraculously, most of the crew survived, though injuries were severe. Emerging from the wreckage, they found themselves surrounded by glowing orbs, the same ones discovered earlier. These objects hovered silently, their light pulsating in sync with the survivors' heartbeats. One orb floated closer, emitting a soft hum that resonated deep within their chests. Touching it triggered a flood of images. The Prometheus crew, their faces contorted in agony as they merged with the artifact. The orbs weren't merely relics. They were extensions of the artifact itself, fragments of a greater whole. The final survivor understood then. The artifact wasn't malevolent. It sought to unite all consciousness into a singular, transcendent entity. Resistance was futile, for it had already begun reshaping reality around them. The last scene unfolded in silence. The survivors stood amidst the glowing orbs, their body bathed in radiant light. Their form began to dissolve, breaking apart into streams of energy that merged with the artifact. Around them, the landscape shifted, blending Earth and Kepler 442b into a single, surreal plane of existence. Far above, orbiting satellites detected nothing unusual, a barren planet devoid of life. Yet somewhere within its depths, the artifact continued its work, patiently awaiting the next visitors foolish enough to seek its secrets. And so, the mystery of the vanished expedition remained unsolved, for now. Humanity's reach into the cosmos had uncovered wonders beyond imagination, but also terrors that defied understanding. Perhaps some truths were never meant to be known. Thank you for watching this chilling tale of cosmic horror. If you enjoyed uncovering the secrets of the lost expedition, don't forget to subscribe for more spine-tingling stories that will leave you questioning the boundaries of reality.